Well, Cillian, I'm not sure if you're aware of your credibility when you jump onto something, but what made you want to bring along your credibility and cachet, as Stephen has said it, when you first got the scripts for Peaky Blinders?
Well, it's very, very simple. You know, I don't think about it in those terms. You know, you think about it selfishly. You look for the best work. You know, and for me, it's always been about the writing. That's the only metric I have in terms of the choice of doing something. And I was aware, I think, that there was something changing in television. This is 7 or 8 years ago. I think everybody was kind of aware. You know, that those iconic American shows had been on and we'd watched them, and everyone was kind of conscious of that. I think the BBC were conscious of that. And so I was keen to read some good scripts, and they were the first TV scripts I got sent really, really quickly. And I couldn't understand the title. Didn't know what it meant. I was like, I don't know about that. And then I
Yeah, Peaky Blinders.
I don't know, what does that mean? And then I read it, you know, just purely the opening, the opening sequence. It was so beautiful and mythical and epic, and then I was just in and hooked. And I knew I had to do it, you know. And for me as well, the idea that the show, the writing could start at that level of quality and then keep getting richer and deeper and more complex as we've gone on. That's never happens, as far as the TV I've watched. You know?
Yeah, I think he kind of becomes the head over the course of the first couple of episodes, and yeah, he's one of these soldiers that is, you know, pretty broken when he arrives back from the trenches, and I think he's been changed greatly by his experiences in France, and comes back and has this sort of drive for his family and this ambition that sort of supersedes what has been happening there while he was away, and all of a sudden he comes back and has got this grand plan, or this overarching ambition, you know.
But you started researching?
Yes, no, I wasn't aware of it either. I mean, and equally in Ireland, it's sort of that period is not very well dealt with, and for different reasons in Ireland, but. And the Irish story, funnily enough, influences our story quite a bit as the series progresses. But no, I wasn't aware of it, and I did a lot of reading, and it's fascinating. I mean, it's that the period between the two wars is particularly fascinating in Britain. You know, the changes in society that happened between the two.
Yeah, one of those sets.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw what they'd drawn in with the, you know, the background of that heavy industry of Birmingham and everything, like it's just a city that's just sort of just giving birth to itself constantly. Do you know what I mean? And it did look like Blade Runner or something. It did have that vibe to it.
That was exactly the thing I was thinking.
Yeah, and I think in that, and I like that heightened reality that Otto, the director of the first three, kind of went for, which is really stylized, and I thought was lovely. And of course, but that entrance is, you know, that's referencing a lot of classic things, but again, it is kind of uniquely British, you know.
Belfast one.
Yeah, I thought he did a splendid job. He really did. But the beauty of it was everybody was doing different accents, so nobody really felt self-conscious because we were all on the same boat. Everybody was out of their own accent, which was great. Memorably, that he's a good man doing bad things to a good end. And you know, that seems like a riddle, but it does make sense in a way.
Mr. Shelby, you remember me?
No. I think he's one of those characters that is actually burdened by an intellect. It's not a gift, it's a burden, because he's so far ahead of people always in the speed that he processes things. And I think as a result, he probably doesn't sleep very well. He probably finds, you know, common, normal company tedious because he's like so far ahead. But yet, he still has the sort of same needs and desires and wants as a regular human being.
Cavalry, eh? Huh. Yeah. Spent a long time waiting for the cavalry, mate.
I don't know if he'll ever be happy. I don't know, we're all kind of searching for some sort of happiness, but this is a man who potentially is everything you could want for. Like, he's an MP now, he lives in this mansion, he's richer than his wildest dreams, he has power, but yet I don't think he sleeps well. He's paranoid. That's fascinating, and that continually surprises me, because when are men like that ever satisfied? Who knows?
How the f did a man like you get into a position of trust in a place of power and privilege?
Not me.
The ambition is to do 7, and then I think Steve Knight there's notions or talk about a movie.
Once one of them did it, they all did it.
Yeah, it was a gradual, shaving off of the hair. All of us boys with our vain approach to hair. I always use the First World War as the sort of, as the sort of line. And there was a Tommy before the First World War, and then that happened, and then there's a Tommy Shelby after the First World War, and he's the one that we meet at the beginning of Series 1. The men that came back from that conflict were just devastated. And so there was this huge societal change where you had all these men who had witnessed war on a scale that we'd never sort of imagined. Then they were just spat back into society with no help. For Tommy, I think what it did was he lost all faith. Religion is just a joke. Authority was just a joke. The establishment was a joke. Tommy was a clay kicker in the First World War, which is basically a tunneler. They tunneled under enemy lines and set explosives. And so it was the most claustrophobic, horrific, dark job you could possibly have. Like the worst of the worst, And he seems to turn that trauma into this kind of relentless ambition, because he could have died at any point there. He's not afraid of death, so every day is just like for free, so why not? He's a fascinating character then, because he's relentless and fearless. To encounter him as an enemy is pretty scary because of that lack of fear. Also, I think he's burdened with an intellect and trying to sort of move in the world of mere mortals who process stuff at a much slower pace. I think for Tommy is very, very frustrating. I think the way Tommy operates is the smart people make the decisions and the less smart people carry them out. And that seems to him to be the logical way of things. And in his eyes, Polly and him are the smart ones. They make the strategy and it's carried out by the other members of the family. I think the pre-war Tommy, he smiled a lot, he laughed a lot, he wanted to work with horses, he was very romantic. All of these things, you see scratches of them, throughout the show, and there's times when he feels like he's getting towards some sort of healing when he's with Grace, and then it's taken away again. And then he retreats back into that kind of shell emotionally, and even though what he does in all of the series, a lot of the actions are obviously morally completely at odds with what any of us would agree with. That's why people are fascinated by him, because we see in him a magnified version of what all humans are like. And his goal, ultimately, to protect his family. People can identify with that. But I feel incredibly privileged to be part of a show that has incrementally improved season upon season. And I'm very proud that we've managed to do that.
The name Peaky Blinders is the name of the gang, right? And they were a real gang in Birmingham, is that right?
That's right, yeah. And I mean, the name, kind of the clue is in the title, I guess, but they had these, the peaked cap,
peaked caps,
which is like the uniform of the working class in Britain and Ireland. And so they used to sew razor blades into the peak of the cap, and that
so that they could take your, because they used to do that in Glasgow in the razor gangs. They would sew them into the lapel, so when you grabbed somebody you'd lose your fingers. It's
not pleasant.
No, it's not, and that's why I moved into comedy. But what's interesting to me is you're Irish, clearly, and you play someone from Birmingham who's interacting with a lot of Irish people.
Yes.
Do you ever sit with an actor and think, that's not very good, that accent you're doing?
Well, the thing about this was that everybody was doing different accents.
Right.
Like, I was doing Birmingham. The Irish characters were like, the Annabelle Wallace who plays Irish, she's raised in Portugal. Sam Neill, He's a Kiwi. He's playing Belfast.
Sam Neill's accent is great in this, isn't it? Yeah, he sounds a bit like Ian Paisley.
Does a bit
yeah, is that what he did? Is that the accent he was looking at?
I think he was going for a bit of that.
Right.
Yeah.